Are you curious about starting to eat gluten-free? Or maybe a healthcare provider suggested offhanded that you may want to try a gluten-free diet? But you're wondering, is a gluten-free diet really right for you? If so, then stick around because in this video, I'm sharing 4 things that you absolutely need to know before you start your gluten-free diet. Hey gluten-free foodies, my name's Sharon McCaskill from The Helpful GF, and I am a registered dietitian nutritionist with a focus on gluten-free living to help you live gluten-free with confidence and without the stress. I'd love for you to subscribe to our channel and join our community. I make new videos every week sharing my family's gluten-free journey as well as providing evidence-based nutrition tips to help you in your gluten-free journey. And if you're watching this video and you've already chosen to live gluten-free, I would love it if you would comment below and tell me what made you choose to go gluten-free. Now, let's jump in and explore the ins and outs of what you really need to know before you choose to follow a gluten-free diet. The first thing you need to know is that you should get tested for celiac disease before you ever start a gluten-free diet. Testing for celiac disease before going gluten-free is so essential. This is actually my absolute biggest frustration is when I talk to people who have chosen to go gluten-free, maybe at the suggestion of a family member, a friend, or even some type of medical professional, but that medical professional did not do any celiac testing on this individual first. This is because testing to diagnose celiac disease is actually only able to test our reaction to eating gluten. The accuracy of gluten-free testing, or what we would call the validity of testing, becomes compromised if an individual is currently not eating gluten or especially has been eating gluten-free for a very long time. Most GI doctors will actually not test you for celiac disease if you've already been following a gluten-free diet. If you are already gluten-free and want to do celiac testing, you need to make that clear to your medical provider and follow their guidelines for reintroducing gluten into your diet for testing. If you've had testing and your testing is positive for celiac disease, then 100% you need to follow a gluten-free diet. There is no way around it. If you have celiac disease, you must eat gluten-free, and you must eat 100% gluten-free all of the time. However, if your celiac testing was negative and your doctor has ruled out celiac, I really encourage you to do more follow-up testing. You could have some other conditions such as EOE, Crohn's disease. There's lots of other conditions that gluten can kind of trigger flare-ups. It's really important that you rule out that you don't have one of those conditions as well. If you are still pretty sure gluten's a problem and your doctor has ruled out like every diagnosis, then you could have something called non-celiac gluten sensitivity. That is also an actual diagnosis. If your doctor suggests an elimination diet to figure out whether you have non-celiac gluten sensitivity, I highly encourage you to work with a registered dietitian who's very familiar with elimination diets or specializes in a gluten-free diet, like me. We will help you figure out whether or not gluten is the root of some of your symptoms, or if there's maybe something else that's causing it. The second thing that you need to know before choosing to go gluten-free is that eating gluten-free is a medical diet. It is not some type of fad diet. The gluten-free diet is really only an indicated diet as medical necessity. It is not some type of trendy weight loss diet. There's an overwhelming amount of research that shows a gluten-free diet is not appropriate for somebody who does not have a medical need to go gluten-free. Being on a gluten-free diet without a medical need is shown to cause nutritional risk, especially in children. In the next 2 points, I'm going to dig deeper into this. But this is really why in my household, the only person who eats 100% gluten-free is my husband Tyler, who has celiac disease. Number 3, gluten-free is really expensive. I feel like I need to say that again. Gluten-free is super duper ridiculously expensive. Gluten-free food costs on average 242% more than eating regular diet. There have been so many studies on the economic burden of eating gluten-free, and I feel like this is something that's not adequately addressed in the healthcare community. In addition to just the actual food costing more, there's a general burden that comes from the lack of availability of gluten-free food. To get all the products that you want on a gluten-free diet, it can require special ordering, traveling to more than one store, only going to higher priced restaurants, or if you go to the normal restaurant you used to go to before, you can get charged an upcharge for getting gluten-free food. The fact that we have to pay an extra $3 on a burger for my husband to get a gluten-free bun that, yeah, costs more than the regular bun, but definitely not $3 more, is kind of ridiculous. That said, there really are a lot of things that you can do to cut down on the costs. If you're interested in some cost-saving tips on a gluten-free diet, please let me know. Comment below, tell me, and I could make a whole video on that. On to number 4. Food labeled gluten-free does not mean the same thing as more nutritious. If you need to eat medically gluten-free, like we talked about, then yes, of course, gluten-free food is healthier for you, 100%. Yet, there's this widespread misconception that just because food has a gluten-free label on it, that makes it healthier for the general population. And that's just not true. There are countless studies that have compared gluten-free food to their regular alternative, and those studies pretty universally show that the gluten-free option is higher in sugar, fat, and salt, as well as being lower in fiber and general vitamin profiles. There's also no good evidence that shows that eating gluten-free helps with weight loss. This is something I hear people talk about all the time. Like, oh, you're a registered dietitian that helps people eat gluten-free. I'm gonna try gluten-free to lose weight. I just wanna, I don't know. Do you see my face? Ridiculous. There's really no evidence that shows eating gluten-free will help you lose weight if that's the reason why you're going gluten-free. In fact, there's plenty of medical research that shows the exact opposite. There's really a trend in individuals that when they switch to a gluten-free diet, they gain weight. And actually, for a lot of people that go gluten-free, gaining weight is really a good thing for them. We need to really get away from this idea that fat versus skinny actually means something in terms of long-term health and longevity, because it really doesn't. Weight alone, or where you hit on the BMI scale, is not really a good indicator of overall health and wellness. In my opinion, weight alone should not really factor into somebody's decision of whether or not to choose a gluten-free diet. So let's do a really quick recap for those of you considering a gluten-free diet. Number 1, before you go gluten-free, get tested for celiac and other medical conditions. Number 2, understand that a gluten-free diet is a medical diet and not a fad. Number 3, eating gluten-free can be very expensive. And number 4, food labeled gluten-free does not equal healthier food unless, of course, you have a medical reason that you need to be gluten-free. And then, yes, it's healthier for you. All right, and that's a wrap on today's video of what you really need to know before you go gluten-free. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And remember, you are not alone in your gluten-free journey. We are a community of people who support each other and help each other. So share your thoughts, questions, and gluten-free stories in the comments below. And until next time, stay gluten-free with all the confidence in the world and no stress.